Silence. There are days when someone wakes up ready to start trouble and ends up getting an answer from the universe right away. You know those scenes where someone goes too far, loses it, and in seconds, everything turns against them? Well, the internet is full of these unbelievable moments, with the Karens being the champions of embarrassing themselves, and that's exactly what you're going to see here today. So go ahead and leave your like, click the subscribe button down below, and let's go! This all started inside a market at a normal time with people doing their shopping. Two women began arguing over a trivial reason. The mood heated up fast, raised voices, exchanging accusations, that discomfort that makes everyone look sideways. That's when the situation crossed the line. One of them started hurling racist insults in public. Those nearby realized right away it wasn't just any ordinary fight, and so it ended. The victim was visibly shaken but didn't back down. Instead of walking away, she decided to confront her.
I said,
watch your fucking mouth!
excuse me.
The wrong nigger! I'm the wrong nigger! I'll beat your ass in this motherfucking store! I'll beat your ass!
The argument kept escalating. The woman who had been the target of the insults went after her. Tension took over the market and things were already out of control. In the middle of the chaos, the aggressor ended up getting the worst of it and right there received a reaction no one expected. She ended up having to sit on the floor afterward to recover from the lesson she had taken. This time, the commotion started over something simple. Children were riding their bikes in the street, laughing, circling along the sidewalk, like any ordinary afternoon. That was when a woman started to complain. She said they were too close, that they were noisy, that it was absurd. The mother who was watching the scene tried to stay calm, explaining that her kids were just playing. But the conversation turned into an argument within a few seconds. The woman raised her voice, pointed her finger, started demanding that everyone leave. The situation got out of control when she decided to go after this mother. She lunged aggressively, trying to intimidate her, but the reaction wasn't what she expected. In the middle of the shoving, she lost her balance and ended up on the ground.
And put that on.
Hey!
Why
Why are you touching him?
Do not fucking touch my face!
The children were frightened and the argument ended right there. No applause, no heroic victory, just the embarrassment of someone who crossed the line. On November 16th, 2024, in Downers Grove, Illinois, the police knocked on the door of a house with a decision already made. The arrest was the result of a confrontation that had occurred the day before inside a Panera Bread bakery location. It all started inside a Panera Bread location in Downers Grove, Illinois. A couple was having dinner quietly when a woman approached, bothered by the word Palestine printed on one of their clothes. She decided to confront them. It began with loud questions, then came accusations and increasingly heated comments. Customers nearby realized the situation was getting out of control. The man's wife began filming with her cell phone. At that moment, the woman tried to grab the device. According to records reviewed later, there was physical contact. The man stepped in front to prevent the phone from being snatched away. Amid the shoving, coffee was spilled and the commotion took over the restaurant.
Are you good with discussing this in front of your husband?
Of course.
Okay, all right, okay.
You're trying to arrest me?
The next day, officers went to the suspect's home. The decision to arrest her was already based on the security camera footage, the videos that circulated on social media, and the statements collected. It was no longer a check, it was the execution of an arrest for assault, with the aggravating factor of a hate crime. During the approach, she repeated that she was only exercising freedom of speech. She said she felt threatened and that she was a citizen with no prior record. The officers explained that disagreeing is allowed, but physically advancing on someone is not. They also reminded her that trying to take another person's cell phone in a public space constitutes assault. Still handcuffed out in front of the house, she was taken to the police station for identification and further procedures. Another Karen who ended up behind bars. In a quiet pizzeria, everything seemed normal, until a customer decided to turn picking up her order into a spectacle. The shared video shows the scene recorded by a ceiling-mounted security camera. There is no sound, only footage. At the counter, 3 employees hand the pizza box to the woman. From her body language, you can tell she wasn't satisfied. After a few seconds saying something to the staff, she walks toward the automatic exit. Already outside, still right in front of the restaurant, she makes a point of clearing space, lifts the box, and throws the freshly baked pizza onto the ground. A gesture clearly meant to provoke. The idea seemed to be to teach the attendants a lesson, but the situation turns within seconds. As she tries to leave, she steps exactly on the pizza she just threw. The result is immediate. Her foot slips, her body loses balance, and she falls to the ground. From inside, one of the employees can't hold back the reaction and starts laughing. The clip is just over 20 seconds long, but it already adds up to thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. Many users took the employee's side. The attempt to humiliate the restaurant ended up becoming an embarrassing moment that spread across the internet. This time, the pizza was served with a generous dose of instant karma. The case happened on a highway in New Jersey and was recorded by the camera installed in the victim's car. The driver was traveling normally in his lane when, suddenly, a woman in a red Hyundai changed lanes and struck the side of his vehicle. Right after the collision, she tried to accelerate to leave the scene. The driver, realizing the attempt to flee, grabbed his phone and called 911. In the recording, you can hear the desperation in his voice as he reports that the other driver was trying to get away. Although it initially seemed like she wanted to flee quickly, the situation took an even more dangerous turn. Unexpectedly, the woman slammed on the brakes in front of the victim's car, apparently trying to cause a rear-end collision to flip the narrative of the accident. The emergency dispatcher asked for details about the vehicle. The driver said he was in a white Toyota CR-V and that the other car was a red Hyundai. The driver then got out of her own car in the middle of the highway and walked toward the man's window, putting herself at risk and putting other drivers at risk as well. She knocked on his car window and began to question him aggressively. Shortly after, she returned to the vehicle and drove off again. The tension escalated when she stopped once more and got out of the car for a second time. This time, the situation went beyond any reasonable limit. According to the account in the footage, she pulled out a firearm. Fortunately, the police were able to locate her and made the arrest before something even worse happened. A disagreement began in a busy parking lot with those Karens, where any small difference turns into a reason for trading barbs. According to witnesses, it all would have started because of a parking space and the way the vehicles were positioned. The woman, visibly irritated, began arguing in a loud tone with a man who was also there. The exchange of words quickly got out of control. Aggressive gestures, physical proximity, and provocations made the atmosphere increasingly tense. That was when the woman lunged toward him and tried to throw a punch. Before the blow could hit him, the man reacted instinctively. He then hit back, and she ended up moving backward. Off balance, she ended up falling to the ground, which led to even more shouting and indignation.
Lady, move it.
Even after the fall, the argument did not stop. From the ground, she kept accusing the man of assault. He, in turn, repeated that he only defended himself in the face of a clear attempt to attack. Some people began to intervene verbally, asking both of them to step away. The woman got up and went to her own car, still agitated. Between threats, she said she would call the police and that he would pay for the consequences. The man replied that he had no problem waiting for the authorities because the camera and the witnesses would confirm that he only reacted to protect himself. What began as a routine stop ended in arrest, taser use, and serious criminal charges in Cashin. On July 31st, 2019, local police pulled over Deborah Hamill, 65, after determining that she was driving with a broken taillight. The infraction resulted in an $80 fine. The situation, however, spiraled out of control when the driver refused to sign the citation. The signature did not mean an admission of guilt, only confirmation of receipt, but she insisted that she deserved only a warning. The officer said that the taillight problem had been going on for months. Even so, she maintained her refusal. Faced with the refusal, the officer announced that she was under arrest for failing to comply with a lawful order. In response, she locked the car door and stated that she would not be arrested. When the officer insisted that she get out of the vehicle, she accelerated and left the scene, starting a brief pursuit.
You better leave me!
Put your hands behind your back.
Leave me alone!
Put your hands behind your back.
Minutes later, the car was intercepted in a parking lot. With his weapon drawn, the officer ordered her to get out of the vehicle. As he opened the door and pulled her from the car, a physical struggle began on the ground. During the attempt to handcuff her, she allegedly kicked the officer in the groin. It was at that moment that the officer used the taser to subdue her. Amid screams and resistance, they finally managed to handcuff her. Already in custody, she justified her reaction by saying she tried to kick because she was a countrywoman, used to defending herself. A group of young people were conducting a geology study in a natural area heavily frequented by hikers. The atmosphere was calm, everyone focused on what they needed to do, while one of the members walked his dog on a leash in a controlled and responsible manner. At a certain point along the route, a woman approached, visibly annoyed. She then began to claim that the animal's presence was forbidden in that region. According to her, there was a clear rule that barred dogs there, and they would be breaking the law. The young people, caught off guard by the accusatory tone, tried to stay calm, and so it ended. They explained that they had researched before heading out and that according to the federal legislation applicable to the area, there was no prohibition regarding the presence of dogs. One of them even mentioned that they were doing a study and that the dog was indeed allowed there.
We're from the community college, that's fine.
What?
We're from the community college, that's why we're here today. We're on a field trip. So this service dog's allowed in the classroom as well.
The woman insisted. She claimed she knew the rules and that it was irregular. The tone grew increasingly harsh, but the group chose not to continue that debate. They repeated that they were within the law. Realizing that the discussion wouldn't lead anywhere, the young people simply decided to drop the subject. Calmly, they got back on the trail and continued their walk, leaving the woman alone in the middle of the route. In the end, the outing continued without any major incidents. What seemed to be just another traffic argument quickly turned into a scene worthy of a security camera. And so it ended. It all started when a female driver began cursing at another driver after a maneuver she considered wrong. Out of nowhere, screams and insults began to echo down the street. The man, who was the target of the insults, kept calm. Instead of firing back in the same tone, he tried to defuse the situation. He pointed out that she was the one who was worked up and cursing at him. On impulse, the woman opened the door and got out of the car to continue the argument face to face. The problem is that, in the middle of her fury, she forgot a basic detail. The vehicle was not properly secured. Without the brake correctly engaged, the car began to move slowly forward. When she realized what was happening, she tried to hold the car. Panic took over. With her hands on the steering wheel and her body partially outside, she tried to keep the car from picking up speed. However, it was already too late. The vehicle ended up bumping into the car that was stopped right in front. In the middle of the clumsy attempt to stop the movement, the woman got stuck between the two cars for a few moments, creating a chaotic and embarrassing scene. In the end, she wasn't hurt, but she was humiliated. Stop out front. The case began when a delivery driver quickly stopped in front of a house to make a delivery. According to his own account, he didn't permanently block the entrance. He only used part of the space for a few moments while he organized the package. And it was enough to provoke an unexpected reaction. From inside the residence, a woman came out visibly irritated and started yelling at him. The delivery driver began recording, documenting the approach. In the footage, he repeats several times that he is driving and trying to leave, while the woman remains close to the vehicle, making the maneuver difficult. The situation escalated when she started banging, screaming, and holding onto the car's windshield. The delivery driver, clearly nervous, says that this was the first time he had faced a Karen. He insists that he is just driving. Amid the tension, the driver continues trying to leave safely. The woman, however, stays in front of and alongside the vehicle, creating a dangerous scenario. Any sudden movement could result in an accident. A few seconds of calm dialogue would have been enough to avoid the confrontation, but with Karens, that doesn't work. A video that circulated widely on social media shows an unusual scene in a residential neighborhood in Florida. In it, a boy of only 12 appears confronting in a surprisingly calm manner a driver who was driving aggressively down the street where several children were playing. According to accounts shared on the forum where the video gained traction, the woman allegedly drove by at a speed inappropriate for a residential area and, at a certain moment, allegedly brought the vehicle close to the children in an intimidating way. In addition, she allegedly shouted insults out the window, demanding that they get out of the street.
Your parents
Do
will beat
something!
your fucking
Do
ass and
something!
somebody else
Do
will.
something! Assault me! I dare you! I
I'm
will
not gonna ruin my life.
do it
You just
exactly!
need to
You
learn
know!
a fucking lesson.
What drew the most attention was not only the adult's hostile attitude, but the boy's demeanor. Instead of reacting with fear or aggression, he kept his composure. He spoke clearly, questioned her behavior, and showed that he knew basic principles of coexistence and traffic safety. In a certain excerpt, he mentions that this is a residential street and that drivers should drive with caution. Several people who watched the video pointed out possible violations committed by the driver, such as reckless driving, threatening with a vehicle, and dangerous driving in an area with pedestrians. Many criticized the woman's lack of empathy, since residential streets often also serve as a space for children to socialize and play. The boy's maturity was widely praised. Various internet users highlighted his courage in facing an agitated adult without losing respect or raising his voice. Two fishermen were enjoying a calm morning by the edge of a lake, focused and undisturbed, when the quiet was interrupted unexpectedly. A woman approached along the nearby trail, accompanied by two dogs, visibly agitated even before saying anything. Without any introduction or polite request, she began complaining about the men being there. She claimed that fishing was not allowed in that area and that they were violating environmental regulations. The situation escalated quickly. Gesturing a lot and raising her voice, she got too close to one of the fishermen who was standing at the lake's edge. In the middle of the argument, she tried to push him to throw him into the water, but the shove didn't go as planned.
Oh, bastard!
Hey, what is wrong with you?
I like people who follow the goddamn rules.
By lunging forward uncontrollably, she bumped into him and fell backward, with the fisherman doing absolutely nothing. Getting up quickly, visibly embarrassed, she tried again to go after the fisherman, but he managed to restrain her. She then ended up leaving, still muttering that they were breaking the law. After she walked away, the lake returned to its tranquil state. A controversial scene took place in a public park, in front of a bench that had a dedication plaque. The woman who appears complaining had donated the bench to the city in honor of her deceased sister. Her name was engraved there, along with a small memorial message. Meanwhile, a boy, the son of the woman who was filming, placed a snack on the ground, very close to the base of the bench, next to the plaque. According to the mother, he did this because he needed to go quickly to the bathroom and would be back in a few minutes to pick up the snack. There was no mess scattered around, just the package resting on the ground for a moment. The donor, however, interpreted the situation as direct disrespect to her sister's memory. She began demanding that the package be picked up immediately, treating the gesture as if it were trash deliberately left behind. Even after the explanation that the boy would return to get the snack, she continued raising her voice, saying that it was unacceptable and that the bench was a sacred tribute.
No, my sister. I don't have a sister.
Okay, so you wouldn't know. Has your mother died?
Yeah, she's dead. And
Yeah,
my
okay, so
father
if-
is also dead, and I am also a mortician, so I understand.
The mother tried to stay calm and emphasized that no one was disrespecting anyone's memory. Her son had only left the snack there temporarily. Even so, the woman insisted, pointing to the ground and ordering that it be removed at that exact moment. And to make matters worse, she began to utter profanity. The entire argument was recorded on video. What began as a brief misunderstanding ended up taking on larger proportions when the footage made its way onto the internet. Internet users began criticizing the donor's rigid stance and authoritarian tone, considering her reaction exaggerated given the situation. A commotion started on the sidewalk in front of a house when a young man's car simply stopped working. He tried to start it a few times, but the engine wouldn't respond. With no alternative, he called a tow truck and decided to wait inside the vehicle until help arrived. That was when a woman approached, visibly irritated. She demanded that he move the car out of there immediately, claiming it was in the way. The driver calmly explained that the vehicle was broken down and that he couldn't remove it at that moment. Even so, she remained irritated. Raising her voice, she said he needed to figure it out, as if the mechanical failure were a choice. Outraged, she said she was going to call her boyfriend as a way to intimidate him. Minutes later, the boyfriend arrived. Her expectation seemed to be that he would take her side and confront the young man. However, upon hearing the explanation and seeing the driver try again to start the car, making it clear that the engine really wouldn't turn over, his demeanor changed completely.
What's he gonna do?
He's laughing
broken
at us.
down. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Look at you.
just gang up on you.
The man realized there was no bad faith at all. The driver was just waiting for the tow truck, without causing a scene or provoking anyone. Instead of backing up his girlfriend's irritation, he began explaining to her that the young man wasn't doing anything wrong. The woman looked visibly displeased, but ended up without any arguments. In the end, the boyfriend stayed by the driver's side, showing support and making it clear that all that indignation was unnecessary. Not even the boyfriends of Karens can stand them. Don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.